Meg Murray had 3 younger brothers. Sandy and Dennis were the twins, both at 10 years old. Charles Wallace was her youngest brother at 5 years old. He was slow to learn and didn't start to speak until the age of 4, but after that he seemed very smart and used high academic language. He was very advanced for his age and was super smart. Because of his earlier reputation as being the dumb kid, kids made fun of him and called him the dumb baby brother. Meg hated this and wanted to beat up anyone who insulted Charles Wallace. She already had it tough enough feeling dumb at school. Meg's mother took care of her family without her father being around. He had been working on top secret assignments and traveled all over the world with the rest of his family. Eventually, the rest of them settled in their summer house, and Mr. Murray continued to travel, sending his family letters often. But one day, the letters stopped coming, and no one knew what happened to Mr. Murray. No one was pleasant about the subject to Meg. Not even her school principal was respectful. Only her family understood her. One stormy evening, an old woman appeared at the Murray household. She called herself Miss Whatsit and knew Charles Wallace. She stopped there for a short visit, mentioned something involved with Mr. Murray, and then left. Later, Charles Wallace and Meg went to visit Miss Whatsit and her friends she lived with in the old abandoned haunted house near their home. Along the way, they ran into Calvin O'Keefe and became friends. They met Miss Who at the house and were beckoned to soon save Mr. Murray from an unknown danger. Soon after their visit to the house, the 3 kids meet up with Miss Whatsit, Miss Who, and the newly met Miss Witch. They transport the kids to a star named Uriel, where they are safe for a moment. Miss Whatsit then morphed into a new animal and carried the children to the top of the star where the atmosphere was thin. When night came, they could see through the atmosphere a disturbing black shadow they called the Black Thing. Meg's father was located behind it on a planet called Camazotz that they traveled to after. Along the way to Camazotz, they met the Happy Medium, who showed them the evil Black Thing and what it could do, like destroy planets and stars. Miss Whatsit, Miss Who, and Miss Witch gave the children gifts and dropped them off at Camazotz. They passed through an oddly organized community that was being controlled by it. They reached and entered a huge building called Central Intelligence, where they encountered the man with red eyes, who's also being controlled by it. He tried to control Charles Wallace and eventually succeeded. The controlled Charles Wallace led them to it and failed at preventing them to free Mr. Murray from the invisible column along the way. It was in a dome building that pulled Meg, Calvin, and Meg's father toward it. They entered and almost fell into the hands of it, a human brain. Meg's father teleported them without Charles Wallace to a random planet where they could no longer fight the pull of it using a tesseract, a form of quickly teleporting places like a shortcut. They landed on a planet named Itchel, and Meg had fallen under the control of the Black Thing when her father transported them through it to reach the new planet. The local inhabitants saved and cared for Meg. The main one that helped her was called Aunt Beast by Meg, since they had drawn close to one another and felt like family. The Mrs. W's, Miss Whatsit, Miss Who, and Miss Witch, told Meg she needed to return to Camazotz to save Charles Wallace and give her some final gifts before she left. When Meg returned to Camazotz, she entered the building containing it and used Mrs. Witch's gift of love. She saved Charles Wallace with her love for him and returned her friends and family. Together they went back to Earth and rejoined their families. The end.